Okay, all good for the press photographers? Okay. It's Hi, Basir team, are we ready? Okay, yeah. It's 8:30, so we like to start on time. Okay. Salam sejahtera, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, dan selamat datang ke debat perdana yang bertajuk Bersih ke arah mana? Hala tuju dan peranan masyarakat madani dalam pendemokrasian Malaysia. Izinkan saya dulu untuk meneruskan ucapan saya dalam bahasa Inggeris. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever live debate between candidates in election for Bersih chairperson for the term 2023 to 2025. The theme entitled Bersih, What's Next? Future and Roles of Civil Society in Malaysia's Democratization. My name is Daniel Lim, and the moderator for the debate tonight. I'm a journalist and writer, and I'm sure a big reason why I was invited to moderate this debate, because I have no direct affiliation to Bersih, was because last year I wrote the book We Are Marching Now, the inside story of Bersih 1.0, which delves into the behind-the-scenes history of the origins of Bersih and the first Bersih rally in 2007. Back then, Bersih was quite different. The first steering committee had 12 members, 9 of which came from 3 political parties, and the remaining 3 came from civil society, all of whom were not elected by the endorsing NGOs. So right now, I'm writing the sequel to this book, which covers the second phase of Bersih, which we now know as Bersih 2.0, telling the story of how this coalition of NGOs transitioned from the dominance of political parties to being fully controlled by civil society. And here we are now, where the Bersih Steering Committee consists fully of civil society members, all of whom were elected by the endorsing NGOs of Bersih. And now we are witnessing the first time the chairperson position has been contested, as the previous chairpersons have all been elected uncontested. In fact, this is probably the first time an NGO in Malaysia has a chairperson candidate debate that has attracted the attention of national media. With this debate, Bersih is demonstrating that it practices what it preaches, setting an example of how democratic elections are to be conducted. And it is hoped that this debate will inform the decisions of the 61 endorsing NGOs of Bersih when they vote on the chairperson position tomorrow. Now, first, let me introduce you to the 2 candidates. On my right here is Muhammad Faisal bin Abdul Aziz. He was the president of the Muslim Youth Movement of Malaysia, otherwise known as ABIM, from 2019 to 2023, and the deputy chairperson of Bersih from 2018 to 2020. He's a graduate with Bachelor of Laws, LLB, and Sharia Honours degrees from the International Islamic University Malaysia, and a Masters of Laws degree from UiTM. Faisal has played a pivotal role in diverse projects such as the Palestinian Refugees Assessment Mission, as well as striving to build bridges across ethnicities for an inclusive society via the Bangsa Malaysia campaign during his tenure as ABIM president, of which he has received a federal honour for his contributions. He is actively engaged in several organizations, including a grassroots community initiative known as Adab Youth Garage. Faisal is also an International Visitor Leadership Program alumnus, a professional exchange program aimed at emerging leaders. Now, on my left is Gopalan Krishnan Papachan, who has been the executive director of Empower, a feminist organization focused on increasing the number of women in politics since late 2021. His tenure as executive director. He has a background in engineering, law, and finance, and as a professional has worked in the upstream petroleum industry for about 35 years, based in various locations. He was a student activist and subsequently a grassroots organizer of plantation workers, urban dwellers, and ununionized factory workers in the early 1980s. He pioneered the family support group for the victims of Operation Lang Lang, and he was the Secretary General of the Workers' Party from 1986 until it morphed into Parti Amanah Negara in 2015. He was at various times a human rights activist with Simba and Kemas, attended Bersih rallies, and acted as a polling agent and counting agent at multiple general elections. Now, some ground rules for the debate. Just to explain to you how the proceedings will be. Round 1 will be opening remarks by each candidate, limited to 10 minutes each. Round 2 will be questions by the moderator to the candidates. This will also be for 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes, round 3, will be where the candidates can pose questions to each other. In round 4, we will open up the questions firstly to the endorsing NGOs. Then, depending on how much time we will have, hopefully we'll have time for round 5, where we will expand the Q&A session to other audience members. I would like to remind the audience that for the Q&A session, there'll be no speeches allowed, only questions, and please keep it short and sweet. Finally, we will have brief closing remarks from each candidate, where they have up to 5 minutes each. Except for the Q&A, who goes first for each round has been decided by a coin toss. Candidates will not be allowed to interrupt each other's replies and statements for round 1, round 2, and closing remarks. For round 3, 4, and 5, if they feel the need to interrupt the person who's answering, they have to say point of clarification, and I will give way for a quick and brief response after the first person has finished his sentence. But this leeway should not be abused, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin the debate with opening remarks from Gopalan. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Danny. Ladies and gentlemen, endorsing NGOs, Stanley, the head of the election committee for Bersih, and folks out there on social media. Please call me Gopal. I've got a chart on me, but Danny gave quite a good introduction, just as an outline of my background. So I won't go into that, all right? So if you can have the chart up, please, I'd appreciate it. But let me start so we don't lose time. What that background says about me, is my understanding of the community and the people of this country, right? So I worked in the plantation workers. I was like organizing ununionized workers. I got involved in railway squatters who were about to be thrown out because Malayan Railway wanted to expand their properties. And then, that gave me a deep insight into the condition of the working class and the poor in general. Yeah. So then I got involved in later on with a cluster of NGOs. I'm sure you've heard of people like Jomo, Ramasamy, Dr. Nasir, Insan, EPSM, Gourmet, people like KK Tan, the Papan issue, etc. So I was involved in all that ruckus. And then Operation Lalang hit, and then we had to scramble, yeah, because we had to then support the families. So folks like Maria Chin, Yu Seng, and myself jumped from hotel to hotel with a fax machine and faxing the whole world to get support for these detainees. And that morphed then into a family support group, which then morphed into what is today called Swaram. Okay, so then I left the country, did some more schooling, etc. Then I worked in the international space on human rights as well. But let's come to Bersih then. What then imbued me was the fact that issues affecting the people, right? Issues affecting them about housing, about jobs, about incomes, about their position as women, the environment, transportation, yeah, all found harmony with me, and then with the people. But then these people wanted improvements in their life. How do they get that, right? They get that through the government. Yeah, and they get that through the government, through that agency of government and the work that the government needs to do. And then the interface between the people and the government is the electoral system. And that electoral system was lopsided, was skewed, was imbalanced, right? Didn't articulate, wasn't able to like articulate the needs of the people, because once they got into power, they forgot the needs of the people. And then the people themselves were knocking on doors. And Bersih was the one that leveled, and to some extent leveled the playing field. All right, people then got to then have their voices heard, and that took a lot of work. It took a lot of conversations, and those conversations ended up on the streets and the street rallies. Yeah, so really, you can go to the next chart and the next chart. So, so then, it's really a people's movement. Okay. Because the hopes, wishes, desires, capacity of the people, etc., were manifest in that people's movement, right? So really, that's what I mean. Yeah. Sorry, I think they're. Yeah. Next one. Thank you. Yeah. So really, I think and the work of reform is not done. Okay, we haven't finished. We're still on the pathway to reform. Okay, so really, I want to stand before you to continue to reignite that journey, re-energize that journey. The people's movement needs that capacity, that centrality. Yeah. So, and of course, we need to rebalance it with a lot of research and advocacy, etc. But the struggle of the people must come through in the work that we do in the advocacy, right? So one of the first things I will do in Bersih is to organize a congress, okay, amongst the 61 organizations. Bring them all together, listen to what they have to say about what the feelings are on the ground, where they are, what the community wants, what are their challenges, and then where do they want to go. And that conversation, that strategy forming will be our mandate for the coming 3 years. And that's what we want. So then I also want to see a membership increase in Bersih. 61 organization doesn't really represent a national movement. Okay, we need much better coverage, particularly in Borneo. We need women's organizations. We need a spread of organizations that cover just outside the West Coast or in urban centers along the West Coast in Peninsular Malaysia. We need a national color to Bersih, all right? So then, but subject to that Congress and the outcome of that Congress, some of my key thrusts are as follows, okay? I want to run through them really quickly. Forgive me if I rush through. You can always Q&A me later on, all right? So first off, the Electoral Reform Commission report, all right, is still a secret. Why? We need to make it public. This is a reform government. That's just a piece of paper. But it contains nearly 50 recommendations. And those recommendations can be a source of national conversation, dialogue, debate. Yeah? And that's good for the country, to be talking about these things and moving things forward. So make that open, make that transparent, make that public right now. Yeah? I mean, the other thing is institutional reforms, okay? Top on my list on institutional reforms is constituency boundary redelineation. Okay, so when you get an area like Damansara and Sungai Buloh and you compare them with each other, one is 3 times bigger than the other, but each has a single representation. So the rural-urban divide is highlighted. The voter inequality is exaggerated. Yeah. So the last exercise in 2016, 2017 worsened it, not improved it. So really what we need is Bersih's involvement right in the middle of that conversation, right? And make that transparent so we can have our say, the people can have the say, right? About the redelineation and the malapportionment that has taken place throughout the decades that we've been a democracy. So then, what about the Electoral Commission themselves? Make them directly accountable to Parliament, which is simple. right? Then, Parliament can see the work of these folks. Parliament can scrutinize them. Parliament can make appointments to people who are experts and reform-minded in the area of, election and electoral reform. And Parliament can then sort of assess how far we're going down the road. Yeah? And we are the ones that elected those in Parliament. So we are the voters that have then almost direct control through our wakils with the EC. Yeah. So then, what about women? Women make up 50% of this country. Guess how many MPs we have? They make up 13% of this country. That's a shame. That's really a shame, okay? I mean, political parties in this country have women's section. Do they have men's section in these parties? I don't think so, because men feel a sense of entitlement to power, right? So the sense of patriarchy, sexism, misogyny is entrenched in these parties. So really one of the things I would do in Bersih is require these political parties to mandate or guideline 30% of their candidates in the next election to be women. Okay, very simple. Push them out, all right? And they shouldn't be in feminized roles as well, all right? Welfare, children, and so on, yeah? Women have the same intellectual capacity as men, yeah? Maybe even smarter, yeah? Thank you. What about voter education? Our voter education needs to be much more than, how to vote, during an election, how to register and all that. Malaysians are a quiet, timid lot. We are shy, yeah? We need to be much more energized about our obligations and duties as a voter. I mean, we should be asking the elected MPs, what happened to my school? Where's the kindergarten? Where's the playground? Not just how frequently my rubbish is collected, all right? We should be looking at infrastructure, about the laws that govern the local authorities, and we don't hold them to account. So really, I like to deepen voter education in this country. Yeah, it needs to be constantly, we need to constantly have this attitude of holding the wakil's feet to the fire. All right? And it comes from you. It comes from the voter. Don't throw your ballot once a year, and then after that, let them run. That's what they like. Yeah? Yeah? Like, for instance, how many of them produces an annual report? Yeah, I see your head shaking. Nearly none. When Maria Chin was an MP, she produced one. When Kumar Devaraj was an MP, he produced one. So that's 2 out of 222. What about the rest? But why aren't we holding their feet to the fire? Yeah? So voter education is about teaching our folks there to basically hold the MP's feet to the fire, the Adun's feet to the fire, okay? And then, I mean, you cannot have free and fair elections when money is going around freely buying votes, all right? When the fish's head has rotted at the top, what do you think the rest of the body is? Corruption in Malaysia is endemic, all right? So really, we should re-energize our anti-corruption our anti-corruption drive. Okay, so no more DNAAs. What is going on? I mean, this is a reform government that came in on the basis of a constant drive against corruption, and I applaud that government. But then, it made a reversal. Whether it did or, the DPP did or the AG did, I don't know. But really, that's a setback. And the MACC needs to be independent, another body that can basically be well and truly better resourced to conduct its investigation.
1 minute left.
Understood. And then the separation of the AG and the public prosecutor, that needs to go. And then, again, free and fair elections cannot be held in an ecosystem of oppression, right? We had the ISA, we had the ESCA, all right? But we still have the Sedition Act, for goodness sakes, that's from 1948, right? So, and then we have, SOSMA. Why do we have these regressive acts? They act as a blanket to the freedom of expression, the freedom of association, the freedom of assembly, right? The freedom to express your ideas, etc. We need those laws to go, all right? We have enough laws to govern people's behavior, okay? So then, one thing I want to suggest that reduces the power distance relationship between the wakil and the people are local council elections. Local council elections used to be had here in Malaysia. It's gone now, all right? And it will really empower people at the local level. So in summary, let me say this, Danny, folks, we are in a good place now. Why? Because we have a government, okay, allegedly, all right, interested in reform, all right? And there are some good people in government, and they are willing to listen. We need to take advantage of that and maximize that, okay? But not for them, but for the rakyat. They need to understand, we need to understand their challenges, of course. They are going at the rate of their slowest partner, their most conservative and their most traditional partner. But we must actually see the reform agenda moving and showing results. Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. Let me stop here.
Okay, now we'll have Faisal. Yeah, you have 10 minutes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you, Mr. Danny Lim, our moderator for tonight's event, my fellow candidate, Mr. Gopalan Papachan, and all members of the floor, especially the endorsing NGO of Bersih. Alhamdulillah, tonight we gather here for this very important public debate. This is what we want to do. We want to show to the public. When Bersih, we has always been advocating for public debate among politicians, be it at the federal level, national level, or state levels. We now produce a model. When we have our own internal elections, now there is no excuse for any politicians, those outside, not to conduct this debate among politicians in the near election, inshallah. And thank you to KL and Selangor National Assembly Hall for providing this space. For me, more importantly, this program is not just to select who are going to be the chairperson of Bersih. For me, tonight is a historical night because we discuss what we want to do to chart democracy forward. Now, if we want to talk many things about kita punya kekecewaan, we will discuss today. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Bersih, before we go forward, before we go further, I would like to share the history of Bersih because we should not forget our past. In 2008, all of us have known Bersih emerged from the massive public support. In 2008, led by Dato' Ambiga and also Pak Samad, we managed to mobilize the voice of the people. And not just that, in the wake of Bersih rally, for the first time in the Malaysian political landscape, we managed to get, government failed to secure two-thirds majority in the parliament. And after that, what happened next? Bersih, we managed to bring the voice of people in an unprecedented scale. The notion government knows best truly ended during that time. And even during Maria's time, we managed to revitalize the reform agenda. All in all, this happened because Bersih emerged, because Bersih, we managed to fill the vacuum. At the same time, not to forget as well, the Sheraton move. Bersih played a vital role to criticize this Sheraton move, the big betrayal of the people's mandate. Credit goes to Thomas Fan as well for this effort, for this endeavor. And not just that, when we talk about Sheraton move, of course, Bersih move on. We try to find something alternative. What Bersih did, we advocate for CSA. And government during that time, Dato' Sri S.O.M. Sabri and Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim, they have this MOU. And what will be the effect after the MOU? We have this anti-hopping law. Yes, of course, it is imperfect, but at least now we can have this stable government. We manage to refrain the mandate of people from being abused, from this Sheraton move from recurring again and again. All in all, from all this, what I say to you, hari ini, kenapa saya sebut tentang sejarah Bersih? The issue now, we feel hopeless because we can see the vacuum. Bersih dulu berjaya mengisi vacuum. Vacuum yang ditinggalkan. Tapi hari ini seolah-olah vacuum itu telah kosong. Rakyat kembali pergi ke parti politik. Seolah-olah parti politik menentukan segala-galanya. Itu yang menjadi penyebab kenapa agenda reformasi hari ini tidak dapat dijalankan dengan baik. Kita harus faham, kita harus sedar. We need to understand, it is a clear cut. It is different now as compared to Bersih before, because we fail to fill the vacuum of the people. That's why I said to all the people, to all the NDC NGO, we need a strong leadership of NGO that can lead this country forward, especially in bringing the reform agenda. And having said so, I would like to bring this, apa yang ingin kita bawa. First, position Bersih as a people's movement. Of course, all of us have agreed, Bersih is a people's movement, but we need a strong leadership. We need to fill the gap, the vacuum. We need to regroup all the activists. Same like what Bersih did in 2008. Dalam masa yang sama, kita harus ada our own homegrown. Kita punya cabang. We need to have our own Bersih activist group. We need support from all these endorsing NGO. When we talk about rally, for example, yes, I'm all for that, but we need to have plan. What plan that we have to do? Of course, we need to have this our own homegrown, our own activist group, consisting of all endorsing NGO. All of you have to participate, to contribute in this our Bersih activist group. Dalam masa yang sama, I want to elevate Bersih as a mediator between government and opposition. Government always accuse opposition to be the pushback for this reform agenda. Let us talk to the opposition. Let us meet opposition, engage with the opposition, to talk to them, to have what we can find in common to accelerate this reform agenda. And of course, when we talk about mediator between Bersih and all political parties, we also talk about this CDF, for example. Bersih, we consistent. When we talk about equal constituency development fund, we will become the mediator between government and opposition. When we talk about reform agenda, good governance, let us talk to both parties so that we can find what we can do to find something in common so that we can ensure that the reform agenda will be in progress. Dan yang ketiga, yang paling penting, we want Bersih to be inclusive enough. Sadly to say, sometimes people say that what we are fighting for just for the sake of greater good of certain urban people. Kita kena ubah pandangan ini. We have to shift this kind of mind. What we want to do is we have to enlighten pesawah, petani, peladang, pekerja-pekerja kilang. When we talk about clean and fair election, when we talk about justice, for example, in electoral system, of course it will benefit all of them. It will benefit semua lapisan masyarakat. Sebab tu tuan-tuan, hari ini bila mana kita sebut tentang persoalan Bersih, perlu untuk kita mengisi vacuum. Hari ini kita bicara tentang redelineation. Kita bicara tentang agenda reform. Tetapi hari ini seolah-olah tidak berjaya. Kerana apa? Kerana tadi saya sebut, Bersih, we need a strong leadership because we need to fill the vacuum. Kita sebutlah DNAA. Kita sebut isu apa lagi? Isu kapal tentera laut. Kita sebut isu draconian laws. Semua itu tidak akan berhasil kalau we fail to regroup all the activists together to find a common solution, to find a common ground so that we can move this reform agenda forward. InsyaAllah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, now we move to round two, which is my questions actually. I'm going to ask questions that apply for both sides. Firstly, a major dilemma for Bersih today is the question of when do you choose to engage constructively with the government on issues, and when do you choose to mobilize and pressure the government? So for each of you, what are the red lines for you? What are the boundaries where, okay, within these boundaries on this issue we should engage, lobby? And in what situations, again, what are the red lines where once it crosses a certain boundary, when do you choose, okay, I need to mobilize, I need to take a more aggressive approach? And how would either approach actually help to achieve the bigger goals? Gopalan goes first.
Danny, thank you for that question. Great questions. let me say this. All options are on the table when it comes to engaging with the government. Okay? Don't take anything off the table when we talk to the powers that be. Of course, you want to have a civil discourse with the government. That's how we will begin to engage. Really depends on the issue and the urgency of the issue. Some issues have gone beyond the point of no return. The engagement has to be short and sharp, right? And the engagement then will have to quickly then result in a decision. Now, if the decision goes against you and affects the lives of the people and affects, constraints on democracy, then of course we will regather with the endorsing NGOs, have a discussion with them, and take the appropriate steps. Yeah, I mean, if street rallies are required, yes, we will go there. Yeah, and bear in mind, I don't know why when we mention street rallies, suddenly, people get into a fit and, the authorities get twisted up like a pretzel sometimes, yeah? So really, street rallies are a way to express peacefully the views of the people. Very simple, right? I mean, if you look at what's happening in Palestine and the support that has garnered through street rallies around the world on Palestine, those are street rallies waving the Palestinian flag, right? Martin Luther King, overcame, Afro-American, discrimination and racism through, mass demonstrations. The campaign for nuclear disarmament, resulted in, the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. That was mass rallies. So changes happen. So sometimes, you've got to use the right tools, yeah? Conversations, petitions, campaigns, postcards all work. But, red lines will have to be reviewed at the time of the conversation, and depends what they are. And then we'll review with the team. Bersih needs to be a democracy, one that is two-way, yeah? It's not decided by a small group of people, what to do. It has to be a conversation that takes the people with the issue. Okay.
Hang on, because I'm going to add an additional question, and then it's going to be the same, applies to you, okay? Sure. So you say red lines have to be reviewed, right? So can you give examples of such red lines, like to what? At what point would you go to the streets? Would you consider a trigger event like the DNA for Najib or any other issues?
Well, I mean, the DNA has gone to a point of almost no return now, right? So really, we have to have a conversation with the people. I mean, as Saudara Faisal was saying, the people now have been numbed into a certain level of timidity and placidness. So you can't just switch on a button and people will get onto the streets. It doesn't happen that way. It does require conversation, preparation, town halls, meetings, and then if people then desire the need to go to the street, yes. But I mean, if certain people were convicted and then pardoned, I'm sure that would be a pretty big red line.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Faisal.
Yes, we agree that the current government is a unity government. But we cannot forget that the current government is led by tokoh reformasi Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. We have something that we can hold on to. Anwar always promised for the reform agenda, to reform all the draconian laws and so on. It is a matter of time. It is a matter of how do we lobby to the current government to comply with all of his promise. Hari ini kita berada dalam kerajaan perpaduan, tapi kita kena faham bahawa kerajaan hari ini kerajaan yang dipimpin oleh Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, seorang tokoh reformasi. Beliau banyak bicara tentang persoalan janji untuk reformasi. Dan hari ini, when we talk about engagement, we engage with this kind of political parties. As I said, it is very important to engage not only with the government, but also with the opposition. We need to engage with Perikatan Nasional, with PAS, for example. What we can do to find common ground yang disebut sebagai pushback kepada reform agenda. Dalam masa yang sama, when we talk about this reform agenda, it is a matter of timeline. What we push for, the current government, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, we want himself to provide the timeline when this kind of reform agenda that will be materialized by this kind of government. Of course, there is a need of time, but we will push for the timeline. And dalam saya sama, when we talk about red line, of course, I personally, not as Bersih Chairperson or any position, my red line is if there is a case like DNAE, it is a huge cross of red line. But of course, when we talk about red line in Bersih, we need to discuss further with all endorsing NGO whether they agree or not. Because when we talk about rally, for example, when we talk about mobilizing awareness, we need to have a proper plan. I don't want to have rally just by attended by 10 people or 100 group of people. We have to be serious enough if we want to have rally if government cross this kind of red line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My second question is regards to partisanship. As you know, like Bersih's history has always been plagued of being accused of being partisan to certain parties, and now you have candidates with, well, Faisal with his Faisal with his links to ABIM, and you know our current Prime Minister's long history with ABIM, and then Gopalan, you know, the instrumental in helping in setting up Amanah and so on. I mean, obviously this is going to give that kind of perception. How would you deal with such perception when you carry out the role of the chair of Bersih?
Okay.
Should we go first? Yeah.
Okay. My belief, my conviction, all Malaysian society need a truly independent mass movement, mass NGO. This is my belief. That's why, for example, when we talk about Bersih, I never miss to attend to participate in all Bersih rally, straight from Bersih 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. I know you want this Bersih 6. This is my conviction, because for me, all Malaysians, to be fair to all Malaysians, we need to have a strong, independent CSO like Bersih, which listen to nobody, no politicians, but the people. And inshallah, I understand very carefully. Even I myself, if I am chairperson of Bersih, I have to differentiate between my personal capacity and Bersih chairperson capacity. And at the same time, I believe the strength of my steering committee and all endorsing NGO that can guide me to ensure that Bersih always be independent if I did something wrong, pro with the government or with the opposition. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So I think the question was the level of commitment given our historical links with our respective...
and also how you deal with that perception.
Yeah, well, I mean, my links with Amanah are like pretty one way. I basically helped to create Amanah, not the other way around. So, so really, I'm independent completely. And the culture within Amanah is, they are quite open to keteguran daripada semua, right, from each other. So really, there's no question of any misplaced loyalties were I to become chair. The loyalty would be to the mass movement and to the people's movement, and specifically to the group that are in the steering committee, and then of course accountable to the member NGOs or the endorsing NGOs. And absolutely, you have to underline the fact that we are a non-partisan. We may be a socio-political phenomenon, but we are non-partisan, and that has to be underlined all the time. And the conversation has to go deeper and deeper and further into the country. And it has to manifest itself in the actions we undertake. So when we talk, we not only talk to the folks in government, to Saudara Anwar, but we also talk to the opposition. Exactly the same conversation. Right? And we make our position clear, and the position of the people, right? And the position of the people has to come through that Congress I spoke about, and through those endorsing NGOs to the steering committee, and back and forth again for each and every issue that we fight for. And then, that conversation has to be seamless. It's like a stream, okay? A people's movement is like a stream. Okay, the rivulets, the small streams that feed into bigger streams. The bigger streams go into like a waterfall, and there's that rush of a waterfall into a river. You see that agility, you see that movement, you see that direction, you see the power of water. It sweeps everything before you, right? You either get in that movement or you don't. And the molecules of the water are the people's aspirations. That's what that means. The people's aspirations are ensconced in that water. Their hopes, their desires, their dreams, dreams. They are, they want to get married, they want to fall in love, they want to have children, they want to buy houses, they want to be able to think and express themselves freely. That's the people's movement. Okay, and Bersih has got to represent that.
Thank you. So, we're doing very good for time. We move on to round 3, which is the candidates will ask each other questions. Now, we will start with Faisal. I would like for this round, both of you to stand at the rostrum. Yeah, respective rostrums. Thank you. I'll remind you all when there's running out of time. You got 10 minutes.
Sekarang Okey. Soalan saya lah kepada Mr. Gopal. Sekarang kita melihat persepsi masyarakat melihat seolah-olah Bersih ini always didominasi oleh satu kaum ataupun satu komuniti. Mungkin saudara Gopal boleh kongsi tentang perancangan untuk mengubah persepsi ini supaya dilihat lebih inklusif pada masa akan datang. Thank you.
Terima kasih saudara Faisal. Ya, saya tak tahu apa spesifik komuniti yang kita didominasikan. Mungkin boleh clarify, mainly non-Malays.
Maybe urban area.
Urban, okay. Ya, mungkin itu adalah satu perception yang di luar is out there. So that's what I said in my opening remarks when I made the presentation. I think we need to rebalance that perception. Kita mesti show a national character. We mesti get members to rise to the occasion and increase the number of members from Sabah, Sarawak dan daripada desa dan daripada the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia, right? It cannot be a urban Peninsular Malaysia phenomenon saja. Yes, so we need to increase membership, and I have to rely on the conversations we're going to have with the SC dan dengan endorsing NGOs. Daripada saya? Yes. Okay. So, what is your strategy and response, Saudara Faisal, if ABIM disagrees with your approach, and especially if PMX and his cabinet does not move on key institutional reforms?
Thank you very much for the questions. First, I have to make it clear that now I'm a former president of ABIM, and if I'm a chairperson of Bersih, I will be in the capacity of chairperson of Bersih. Dalam masa yang sama, bila kita sebut tentang key reform, of course, like what we agreed, if there is a red line, if there is masalah kekecewaan masyarakat on this reform agenda, we should mobilize the voice of people. I mean, I have no issue of mobilizing people against the government if government disagree with this reform agenda. What we want to do, we have to deal with opposition and with the government. Itu yang paling penting. Apa yang boleh kita buat untuk pastikan ada timeline. Benda yang paling utama ialah this current government, this current prime minister, they have promise, tapi tidak ada timeline untuk bawa reform agenda. Sebab tu kita harus bawa perkara ini ke depan. Dalam masa yang sama, saya nak sebut juga, when I was president of ABIM, kita issue many statements against the government. It is clear cut. For example, on the issue of DNAA, ABIM, even though perceived as pro-government, but we issue statement vehemently criticize this DNAA, and we ask the AG to give full explanation. So, meaning to say, even ABIM itself not pro-government. ABIM itself speak for the sake of the people, for the greater good of the people. Dan saya juga diajar untuk respect Bersih, untuk respect, hormati endorsing NGO, untuk hormati kawan-kawan dalam SC. Kalau kawan-kawan SC ingin bergerak ke arah yang lebih baik, why not? We have to agree with decision, collective decision. Dan saya punya kepercayaan, my style, I always believe in collective participation, collective decision, collective leadership, not one man show. Terima kasih.
I got one more. Ada lagi satu.
Okay.
Masih ada masa untuk soalan?
Okay. Terima kasih. Kalau permisi saya. So terima kasih saudara Faizal. So apakah stand saudara terhadap satu Malaysia yang multicultural?
Sebenarnya, I think if I may share, when I was in ABIM, we brought this idea of cosmopolitan Islam and bangsa Malaysia. Saya percaya kepada kebersamaan. Actually, when we talk about stronger together, kita harus melihat kaum ini dalam konteks aset yang sama. Masalah hari ini, kalau saya nak kongsi what was told by Amartya Sen, when we talk about racial issues, kita melihat political identity sebagai sesuatu yang memecahkan kita. Tapi apa yang disebut oleh Amartya Sen, for example, when he talk about Indian community, the war between Muslim and the Hindu, for example, isunya ialah kita gagal melihat semangat kaum ini dalam konteks yang positif. Tapi kita melihat semangat kaum ini dalam konteks yang memecah belahkan. Sebab tu, if you ask me, I'm a good Muslim insyaAllah, and my religion teach me about inclusiveness. My religion teach me about how to unite together, and insyaAllah, my religion teach me about compassion and mercy. And I always hold on to this principle insyaAllah.
So kita boleh setuju bahawa Malaysia adalah satu negara yang multicultural?
Yes, betul. Yeah.
Bagus. Silakan, ada soalan.
Any more questions? No more? Okay, that's pretty quick. Yes, so now we move on to the questions for from the floor. From the endorsing NGOs, they have the first go at it, roughly 10-15 minutes. Anyone who wants to ask a question from the endorsing NGOs, please stand up, raise your hand. Please state your name, your organization you're with, and I think there should be somebody who's, with a wireless mic going around. Oh yeah. First bite of the cherry goes to endorsing NGOs. Yes.
This.
And yes, no speeches, please. Questions only.
Hi. I'm Kira from Undi 18, one of the endorsing NGOs. How would either of the candidates prepare to counter the narrative that the upcoming delineation exercise will be an exercise to reduce Malay-Muslim power in Malaysia? Thank you.
To reduce Malay-Muslim power in Malaysia, the redelineation exercise. How would they counter? This one's open, yes, so we didn't coin toss for this, so whoever wants to start. I think better you all stay in the rostrum.
Okay. Okay, thank you. What I will do, insyaAllah, I will use my circle of influence, especially among the Malays. We have to emphasize this to all Malaysians, especially to the Malay. When we talk about redelineation, when we talk about elections, all about voting powers. When we talk about voting powers, everyone got equal rights to vote. So, dia tidak ada isu kaum, tidak ada isu reducing Malay, whatever. Sebab akhir sekali, when we talk about malapportionment, ataupun ketidakseimbangan tentang voting antara bandar dan luar bandar, it is a real issue. Kita harus faham, kita kena address isu ini. Apabila kita sebut tentang parlimen di bandar, contohnya, parlimen di bandar ni orang selalu kata parlimen yang majoritinya orang Cina. Kita kena pecahkan supaya memberi hak voter right, supaya mereka ada equal rights dalam konteks suara. Berbeza dengan di kampung. Tidak adil kalau kita lihat di bandar, contohnya di Bangi 200,000 pengundi, tapi kalau di kampung ada 30,000 pengundi. Ini adalah isu tentang voting power, bukan isu kaum. Jadi kita harus tekankan kepada mereka, beri pendidikan kepada mereka bahawa bila kita sebut tentang isu hak pengundi, ia adalah melibatkan tentang the voice of the people, voting power. Kita tidak mahu ia terpalit dalam isu berkauman sempit yang mungkin dimainkan oleh sebahagian pihak. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a really good question. We can't address it mechanically. We can't address it through numbers. It's a conversation that is wrapped up with identity. We need to delayer the identity, right? And we need to talk directly to the people. right? Rather than through the politicians who have a warped view of identity. We need to communicate directly to the people in terms of their rights as a citizen, and that those rights, you know, are universal, whether you're in the countryside or in the rural area, right? And so then, you know, this idea of certain groups of people have certain privileges and they are locked in through the political processes in the elite political parties that use identity, etc. We have to break through that. But we cannot break through that by talking down to them. That's wrong. We need to be talking together with them, having a conversation across the table to them. We need to be listening to their real concerns. Why do they feel that you know, this is a disenfranchisement of Malay Muslim rights? Is it the disenfranchisement of the Malay Muslim power within the power structure of some of these elite parties? Or really are we taking away Malay Muslim rights on the ground? Right? Those rights are preserved and ensconced in the Constitution. Those are protected. It's a long conversation, Kira. So we have to have it, and we should start it, and we should have started it some time ago. Okay? There's no simple answer to this. Yeah. But as a nation, we need to come together and talk about it.
Okay, next question, please. Yes.
Hello, I'm Stephen. I'm here on behalf of Tindak Malaysia.
Sorry, which?
Tindak Malaysia.
Oh, Tindak Malaysia, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually have two. Am I allowed to ask more than one question here? Just for Faisal, sorry.
Sure.
Okay. So
allow it. We have time. Yeah.
I'll be quick. So the first question is that how does the candidates ensure the views of every endorsing NGOs are considered and any decision made are representative of their views? And then one more question for Faisal is that as the previous head of ABIN, can you perhaps demonstrate any examples of how ABIN countered Perikatan Nasional divisive and racial rhetoric?
Okay.
So 2 questions.
Yeah, but why does your first one only apply to Faisal? Because it's like basically asking. Oh, right. Okay, got it. Okay, first question is for both of them. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, ensuring every endorsing NGO is consulted. Yes.
Okay. So. Okay, thank you very much for those questions, Tindak Malaysia. So the views of endorsing NGOs. Yes, I mean, firstly, you know, that Congress I mentioned from the get-go is, you know, the gathering together of all of them. So they not only need to converse with the SC, they need to converse with each other, right? Because you have a lot of NGOs that are overlapping in terms of their interests, and we need to hear all of them and then collate all of their views. And we need to make sure that those views are representative and you know, are real and tested with the rest of the 61 NGOs. So of course, you know, those are multiple conversations we need to have. So the way to do it is to have an SC that is intimately connected with the endorsing NGOs. When we do stuff, we should report back to them. When they do stuff, we should know about it, right? So then, you know, there is a feedback loop, and then meetings should be regular, right? My understanding is that, you know, sometimes when the SC calls for these meetings, very few show up. Now, I don't know how regular they are, but, you know, if I were to get the role as chairperson, after the Congress that we would organize, we'd have to agree the regularness and the frequency of these conversations. So that way, there's rapport. We listen to their needs and their concerns. This campaign has allowed me to touch base with some of you and learn about, you know, things that I was not aware about. The land grabs in Sarawak, right? The voter education limitation, the timidity of the people in voicing their concerns. So we need to actually learn about where we are today. Absolutely.
So?
Okay, I think it is about structural problem or structural issue because we don't have constitution. What is if we can have our own guidelines, peraturan tetap ataupun constitution, we can stipulate in our constitution, bersih we need to have this consultative activities, for example, twice a year or maybe 3 times a year with all the industry NGO, and all industry NGO have to come forward with in this our consultative program or event with all the industry NGO. So we need to have this kind of structural issue that need to be taken into consideration. Inshallah, if we have this constitution or maybe peraturan tetap, all industry NGO must abide by, must come and actively participate in this consultative council or event that we organize, inshallah. And your question on what ABIM do to counter Perikatan Nasional. Oh. Sorry, ini dalam live TV. Agak susah sikit soalan politik. Mungkin after this boleh, after this. Tak, bukan. So politics is too political lah. Sorry lah. Sorry. Yes, what we try to do, we bring the idea of inclusiveness, wasatiyah. In Islam, we have the idea of moderation, wasatiyah. We look into perspective. When we talk about racial issues, we should look at that from the perspective of empowering all nations. That's why when we talk about, for example, 153, when we talk about position of the Malay, it doesn't mean that we are disempowered. It doesn't mean that we are disempowering other people. So when we talk about moderation, we brought this idea of wasatiyah, kebersamaan, dan juga dalam sama bila kita sebut tentang pelbagai kaum, kepelbagaian kaum inilah yang menyatukan antara kita. Hari ini juga kita ada wanita, wanita yang ramai. Kita tidak lagi mahu terperangkap dalam konteks wanita yang hanya 30%. Tapi kalau boleh lebih daripada itu. Kerana kita yakin lebih daripada 30% lebih layak. Tapi hari ini kita masih terperangkap. Jadi sama juga dalam konteks kaum, kita terperangkap dengan nombor. Kita terperangkap dengan persen yang akhirnya menyebabkan kita berpecah. Dan sebab tu bagi kita perlu counter dengan idea-idea yang baik, memberi nasihat yang baik kepada seluruh kaum supaya kita akhirnya Malaysia hanya ada satu untuk kita kongsi bersama.
Yes.
Hi. There seems to be...
Sorry, name and organization?
Oh, sorry, I'm not a part of the endorsing NGO. Just
Oh, right. Can we give priority to
Sure.
first? Yeah. So, yeah.
Hi, saya Amin Barak daripada Architects of Diversity Malaysia. Soalan saya pun mungkin sedikit politics, tapi memandangkan saya cuma ingin bertanya tentang pendirian lah kalau situasi yang saya sebut ini berlaku. Kita tahu bahawa kalau kita ingin mobilisasi massa, menggerakkan rakyat ataupun masyarakat, di akhirnya tidak boleh tidak kita memerlukan political move ataupun parti politik yang menggerakkan. Berdasarkan isu-isu yang dibawa oleh kerajaan perpaduan sekarang, sebagai contoh seperti disebut tadi DNAA, wujud kontradiksi dalam idea reformasi yang dibawa oleh kerajaan perpaduan. Andai kata selepas ini ada lagi isu-isu yang memerlukan bersih, menggerakkan massa, menggerakkan masyarakat untuk turun ke jalanan, adakah bersih bersedia untuk bersama-sama dengan parti pembangkang, iaitu Perikatan Nasional sendiri, untuk membentuk satu koalisi menggerakkan massa? Kerana kita tahu Perikatan Nasional ni walaupun begitu dan begini, tapi tapi bagaimana pandangan daripada dua-dua calon chairman? Terima kasih.
Seperti benda yang saya sebut tadi, bersih kita objektif. Bila kita sebut tentang reform agenda, kita objektif. Kita bukan partisan. Kita bukan melihat siapa yang bawa. Kita melihat bagaimana kita boleh materialize this reform agenda. Sebab tu awal-awal tadi saya sebut, saya punya position saya nak bawa bersih sebagai mediator between government and opposition. Kita nak pastikan bila mana reform agenda ni difahami oleh kedua-dua pihak, mereka menjadi penyokong pro kepada agenda reformasi. Sebab tu kalau kita nak sebut juga, kalau nak mobilisasi rakyat, kita terbuka kepada semua asalkan tidak ada dominasi parti politik ataupun tidak ada dominasi politik kebencian yang masuk dalam aktiviti-aktiviti bersih yang menyebabkan kita berpecah. Kita bersatu dengan semua pihak asalkan kita mencari kesepakatan bersama. kita terbuka sama ada pembangkang atau kerajaan yang bersetuju untuk kita cari jalan yang bersama, kita bersetuju untuk bersama dengan mana-mana pihak, asalkan seperti yang saya sebut, reform agenda ni kita lihat dalam konteks yang objektif.
That's a great question, AOD. I mean, terima kasih. So, we have to make sure that the values of the people come through in whatever mass action we undertake. If people come into a mass action and undermine those values, they are not welcome. Okay? So we have to draw that line. Bersih represents unity. You saw the spirit of Bersih when we took to the streets. Semua kaum bergaul dan melibatkan diri, menolong each other, support each other. That's the kind of spirit we want. If they come to a Bersih rally exhibiting the kind of values that they espouse on social media, then no. Yeah, we have to be clear what Bersih represents. We cannot go to a street rally saying everybody can come just to make up numbers. We look good and push our reform. That's not us. That could be the downfall of us. If we are corrupted by the rhetoric of hate, the rhetoric of separation. Yeah. So those are, some of the minimum criteria we must set. And that's, again, a discourse we must have within the steering committee, with the endorsing NGOs, and in the planning process, in the conversations with semua golongan rakyat di negara kita yang hendak reformasi di sini. Yeah. So, and by the way, it's not day after tomorrow yang kita boleh memobilisasi demonstrasi kan. So we can start the conversation early. Yeah. Remember, a lot of the opposition politicians who are now in government now use Bersih, okay, as a platform. Tetapi they left their party colours behind, yeah, when they spoke. Okay, they only spoke about the reformasi. So if the conversation and the discussion on the street, the round table on the streets, is about reformasi, yes, masuk. Yeah, and that can foster unity. Bila dia tengok, oh, this is a multiracial country. This is, people are united. People are working towards reform. Who knows? They might also buy into those good values. Yeah. So I see this as a good conversation to have.
Okay, I'm going to open up to everyone now, both anyone, whether you're endorsing a joke. I think, no, I'll go with you first, then followed by you. Yeah.
Hello. I think there's a trust deficit between our leading CSO, Bersih, and the people, right? So how do we increase Bersih's bargaining power, both with the people and with the political actors?
Do we want to take a few questions before we go?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Increase Bersih's bargaining power. And next person. Yeah.
Increase what?
Increase Bersih's bargaining power.
All right, I'll just have two quick questions. Number one is that there's a strong demand from our friends in Sabah and Sarawak to increase representation in terms of electoral strength up to 1/3 of the parliament. What are your stances on this, and how would you, as Bersih or as the Bersih lead, navigate this, especially managing representation and also I guess fairness in terms of vote power? Second is one of the challenges that civil society face, especially more progressive leading movements, is that many of our supporters currently are also overlapping with the supporters of the unity government or SPH, right? So how would you navigate that challenge or contradiction where, if let's say you want to push an agenda, at the same time many of our supporting base or progressive supporters might feel that, oh, this is a government that I support, so I want to give them chance, right? But at the same time, for us, we have a clear agenda we want to push, right? So how do you navigate that contradiction? What's the strategy going forward, and how do we push effectively without hurting feelings? Yeah.
Okay. Silakan.
Okay.
Hang on, yeah, because there's a lot of questions there.
All right, sorry. So mine is how you manage...
Sorry. There's really 3 questions here.
Okay.
Let them address that first.
No
Okay,
problem.
yeah.
Okey, saya ingat yang pertama kita tinggal lagi berbaki 2 bulan untuk melihat ulang tahun Sheraton Move. Ini ialah insiden yang perlu kita gunakan untuk mengingatkan mereka. Kita harus ingatkan mereka yang complacent, tidak mahu laksanakan reform agenda. Kalau mereka gagal untuk laksanakan reform agenda, this kind of Sheraton Move will recur again and again. Jadi kita harus manipulate perkara ini, mengingatkan mereka bahawa pentingnya untuk digerakkan agenda reformasi. It's not about giving chance, betul, bagi peluang, tapi bagi bersih, bagi kita, we have to make it clear. Okey, bagi peluang, tapi what is the timeline? Itu yang perkara mustahak yang perlu kita dapatkan. Apa timeline dan apa bentuk reform yang mereka mahukan kita prioritas? Of course, we are open for that. Bersih, of course, with the consultation with all the endorsing NGO. Kita terbuka untuk bincang dengan mana-mana parti politik. Kalau mereka kata, okey, kita nak prioritas A, B, C, kita boleh bincang untuk bawa ke depan. Mana yang boleh. Dalam saya sama, bila sebut tentang bargaining power, I think I need to spell out the theory of the black elephant by Dr. Christopher Burr. Dia kata apa? Dia kata the theory of black elephant, the big obstacle that we neglect. Apa dia? Masalah kita hari ini lah bila kita sebut tentang reform agenda, kadang-kadang kita tahu ianya mungkin tidak difahami oleh rakyat terbanyak. Pemandu teksi, mungkin sebab mereka sibuk, kerana kita tidak enlighten mereka. Dan kalau kita nak dapatkan bargaining power, kita kena turun kepada mereka, enlighten mereka. Kerana kita dah tahu ini masalah ni yang disebut tadi, black elephant. Kita tahu ini masalah besar, tapi kita neglect. Kita tahu ada masalah pemandu teksi, pesawah, mereka ini sibuk dengan pekerjaan. Mereka tidak melihat reform agenda sebagai satu isu yang besar. Akhirnya kita gagal untuk dapat bargaining power. Dan juga tentang Sabah Sarawak, saya fikir ada yang disebut bahawa seolah-olah ada dalam perjanjian Malaysia. Tapi saya fikir sebenarnya dalam konteks yang lebih utama ialah keadilan dan juga keseimbangan. Kita bersedia untuk berbincang dalam konteks lebih banyak kursi parlimen di Sabah Sarawak, tapi yang paling penting perlunya ada guideline tentang voting power tadi. Kita tidak mahu apa yang berlaku sebelum ini berulang. Kalau di KL sampai 200,000, tapi kalau di satu kawasan 20,000. Ya, betul. Sebab di KL tu rumah flat memang padat. Tapi perlu ada guideline juga supaya tidak terlalu berbeza, tidak seimbang, ketidakseimbangan yang berlaku. Terima kasih.
So on the trust deficit and the bargaining power, right? I mean, the bargaining power of Bersih has got to do with the size and voice of Bersih. Yeah. So after 2018, that voice was heard and manifest in 2018. But after the Sheraton move, we kind of sort of went into a shell. Yeah. The people became timid. And and then COVID also hit, and that worsened the condition of the people. And COVID has affected a lot of people quite seriously. And a lot of people now are basically thinking I should just look after myself. Okay, that is a reality in this country. Businesses have shut down. People have been thrown out of work. If they get back to work, their pay is a lot lower than where before. People are struggling in this country. And then along comes Bersih, and we are pushing this reform and driving it. And then do we expect that people will just really say, yeah, Gopal, Faisal, let's go? No. We need to go down to the people, understand their condition. All right, and that I require the help of the 61 CSOs and member NGOs. We need to then regroup. All right, then we need to sort of be talking conversations that matter to them, what matters to them. All right, and then make that connection to the electoral system and the electoral system, how it kind of sort of like doesn't enfranchise them and disempowers them, and then get them to be part of that Bersih movement. So that's a process we have to undertake. This 4 to 5 years has kind of sort of like, taken the shine of Bersih. So there is the rebuilding moment that we need. So that would then sort of like underline our bargaining strength. So that's one. On Sabah and Sarawak, again, we got to go back to voter equality. Yeah. Why do they want a higher number of votes? I mean, if you look at the representation of the politicians in Sarawak, are they really benefiting the people? Are they? Yeah. I lived in Sarawak for 6 years. All my children were born there. Yeah. We met a Japanese timber tycoon with a wad of cash. All right. He'd go into the forest and say, this tree, this tree, this tree, this tree is cut down. I was in Miri. Yeah. The rivers are chock full of logs. Yeah. So you want more representation for what? For whom? It's not really representing the people or benefiting them. So again, it's not a numbers game. Yeah, it's about justice, about equality, about the issues that people need. Yeah, you go to Barrio, they switch off the lights at 6 o'clock. There's no power there. Yeah, so how do the kids do their homework? And then you heard about the kind of issues that people have with respect to internet availability. They don't. Yeah. So you want representation for what? Only for themselves. Yeah? They don't want representation for the people because even now with the present representation, they're not doing any good for the people. So Bersih should question that, should sort of examine, and go behind those questions. So I hope I addressed that. Yeah? And then on civil society and, whether they are in both places and do we slow down? Do we back off? Do we, go forward? I say go forward. Don't worry about the people within the government because we got the agenda and the agenda is a reform agenda. If you're in the government and you understand our reform agenda, help us by getting it done. Simple as that. And if you don't, I want to know why you are in the government that is called a reform government. Maybe you need to step out and join us. Okay? So really, don't worry about that. Just keep going. Yeah? But have the conversation. Have a civil conversation. And I'm sure, we can get somewhere. Like I said earlier, we are at a good place because of those people. But we need to speak truth to power and be straightforward about it, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. How you manage relations between Bersih and SPR? I mean, like the approach that you will do, or when or how to work together, opposed and combative when you have to.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Disebabkan topik hari ini adalah masa hadapan bersih, jadi saya ingin bertanya kepada kedua-dua calon, apakah masa hadapan pilihan raya pihak berkuasa tempatan di Malaysia dan adakah ini akan menjadi sesuatu kepentingan di kepengerusian anda berdua? Terima kasih.
Maybe one more. Sorry.
Assalamualaikum, a very good day. Zarudin from Wabim. Soalan saya ada dua. Pertama, apakah visi kedua-dua calon chairperson Bersih untuk mendekatkan Bersih, merakyatkan Bersih kepada masyarakat luar bandar, terutama masyarakat kampung dan juga generasi muda yang tidak minat politik. Kedua, apakah juga visi dan misi kedua-dua chairperson Bersih, calon chairperson Bersih untuk ataupun program yang boleh dilakukan untuk menyatukan bangsa Malaysia untuk faham apa agenda yang Bersih nak bawa. Terima kasih.
Okay, so that's managed relations between Bersih and SPR, the future of local elections, and of double question of vision of how to connect to the rural community and youth, and vision to have programs to unite the races. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I finished. So just
okay. Alright, yang pertama bila sebut tentang hubungan Bersih dengan SPR, I think we always perceive SPR or Election Commission as our partner in nation building. Sebab bagi kita at the end of the day, SPR lah yang akan buat kerja pilihan raya. Cuma tinggal lagi apa yang kita nak buat ialah kalau boleh ada restructural system, letakkan SPR tu accountable di bawah parlimen. Itu saya fikir jelas apa yang juga ditutup oleh Bersih. Tapi dalam sama kita tidak bermusuhi SPR. Sebab SPR itulah yang akhirnya membantu kita untuk memastikan reform agenda ini berjalan dengan baik. Jadi itu tidak ada isu pertentangan antara Bersih dan SPR. Dan bila sebut tentang local council election, saya ingat Bersih juga sebelum ni kita bawa bersama dalam isu ini. Cuma tinggal lagi bagaimana ianya boleh dibawa dalam konteks yang lebih meluas. Maksudnya bukan hanya di bandar tapi juga di kampung-kampung. So kalau kita nak sebut tentang voting power dan sebut tentang hak rakyat untuk mengundi, kita juga sebenarnya boleh ketengahkan pilihan raya ketua kampung sebagai contoh. Salah satu cara untuk mendidik orang-orang kampung memilih ketua mereka. Tapi sudah pasti yang paling penting isu besarnya ialah kos. Tapi itu boleh kita bincang bagaimana untuk mengurangkan kos dan sebagainya. Tapi kita kena be fair, nak sebut tentang pilihan raya local council, kita juga mungkin boleh melihat dalam konteks pilihan raya kampung dan sebagainya, supaya ada accountability. Ketua kampung bukan hanya dilantik tapi dipilih. Sama juga dengan local council, mereka ini dipilih. Jadi mereka ini ada kebertanggungjawaban untuk memberi manfaat kepada rakyat. Dan juga tadi yang ketiga tentang nak approach masyarakat luar bandar, khususnya orang-orang muda. Ya betul. Hari ini orang muda banyak suka tengok TikTok. Saya ingat semua tahulah. Buka handphone jam 12 malam kan. Ingatkan baca Quran. Mungkin juga baca Quran. Kita tak boleh bersangka buruk. Jadi apa yang Bersih perlu buat in the future? Kita kena memperbanyakkan dalam konteks social media. Kita kena outreach social media. Kita kena banyak tim. Kita perlu ada tim yang kreatif dalam konteks untuk counter isu-isu melibatkan social media. Walaupun susah 1 minit. Kita nak cakap 1 minit itu susah. Sebab saya bukanlah generasi sebegitu. Tapi kita kena belajar. Kita kena belajar sampaikan mesej dalam masa 1 minit yang begitu padat, orang suka tengok. Mulakan dengan mungkin muzik yang baik, bukan mulakan dengan muka yang tak menarik, akhirnya orang akan swipe. Jadi inilah cabaran besar dan untuk itu juga kita perlu melihat ia sebagai satu isu penting kerana hari ini kita berada dalam situasi Uni 18. Mereka 18 tahun ke atas sudah boleh mengundi. Dan mereka inilah pengguna terbesar TikTok. Dan untuk itu saya ingat untuk di masa mendatang Bersih perlu leverage TikTok sebagai salah satu medium menyebarkan berita yang baik kepada masyarakat. Terima
kasih. So Bersih dan SPR, you cannot get anywhere with the government by being combative. We need to collaborate. Yeah, but we need to collaborate with clarity about our goals. Yeah, what is Bersih's goals? What are the people's goals? And what are the SPR's goals? Put them on the table. Be transparent with each other. And at every step of that collaboration, at every step of the way, we need to make sure that we are connected with the 61 members and the 61 members with their members. So then we know we're connecting. Yeah. So if the issues are around appointments, competence, resources, then macam saya bagi tahu tadi, we want to tell them you need to be accountable to Parliament. Yeah. So this is not a conversation with SPR. This is a conversation with PMX. Yes. And when is he going to do that? So there are layers of conversation we need to have. Yeah? And then we need to engage with other stakeholders within government who have a relationship with SPR also. Yeah? Wakil Rakyat, Adun. Yeah? So if the Wakil Rakyat and the Adun can become our allies, then we build a coalition of an army of people that are pushing Bersih's cause. So don't act alone. Yeah? So that would be my strategy. Yeah. So tapi bila dia push back, then we also need to regroup and re-strategize. Tetapi don't negotiate on single issues. Don't salami slice. Yeah. Then you lose. Take the big approach. Yeah. What is the big approach? We want you to be accountable to Parliament. Okay. That's the big strategy. Because daripada situ, the MPs can scrutinize you. Not just Bersih. It's not a private conversation with a group of people, all right, with the SPR. It's a public conversation. Yeah. So that's a big strategic win if we get that. Yeah. Then the rest can flow from it. Appointments, resources, budget. Yeah. Redelineation. So we got to work strategically, and we got to work with partners. Who are the people that will benefit from a freer, and a more level playing field? Yeah. Even the Wakil Rakyat, opposition juga. Yeah. So bring them on as allies. Yeah. So itu dia. Local council elections, no question. do them. Do them. If cost is an issue, do them in phases. Okay? Do them in phases such that, we can learn and then we can replicate. Yeah? We'll make mistakes. Yeah? You don't make a mistake on a grand national scale. You make a mistake on a local scale. And then you check and adjust as you go along. But we need to get started. That conversation has been around for such a long time and we're not moving. Yeah? So the power distance relationship daripada wakil ke MP is huge. Yeah? Tapi it can be reduced if we have local council elections. And you know who are the people that will benefit most from local council elections? Women. Yeah? Because women are at the forefront of telling, your local fellas, fix this, fix that, do this, don't that. If you don't, I'm going to be on your tail again. Yeah? So local council elections may actually then benefit women as basically representative in local councils. Yeah? So I want to seek allies amongst women to push local council elections. Okay? So the vision luar bandar dan generasi muda. I'm old school as a grassroots worker. Yeah? We need to turun ke padang if we want to mobilize and bring about greater awareness with people in the countryside. Yeah, they need to see us. They need to feel us. Yeah. So as a grassroots worker, you keep going in, out. You bring back conversations. You then keep going again and again. Yeah. So again, we need an army of collaborators. Yeah, from the towns who understand and speak the language of the people in the countryside, and go and listen. Listen first. Yeah, take the messages back. Social media is well and good. Your message will only last maybe 25 seconds, and then after that you're gone. You're out of the picture. Yeah, who do they see? Who do they talk to? Yeah, if they're constantly flooded by other messages, then your message will not resonate unless you are there. Yeah, so maybe we need to have Bersih local branches in key targeted areas. Yeah, that can work the space, that can work the ground. Yeah, how about that? Yeah, for that we do need money, and we need to look for money and resources on that. You see, so really depends. If we want to increase the national character of Bersih, we have to go to the rural areas. Yeah, no choice. And that's related to the other question tentang bangsa Malaysia. Yeah, we cannot have a bangsa Malaysia that is just urban. Yeah, articulated by the bangsa Monkiara narrative. Yeah. It needs to be a national narrative. And the Bangsa Monkiara narrative, for any folks from Bangsa or Monkiara, PJ is also included. So we cannot talk down to them. Yeah, we have to listen to them. Yeah. So, but they will talk if they have ready people to listen. So that conversation has already started under this reform government. We must push that. We must sort of keep driving that. It's a long one, And I grew up in Kampung Pandan in government quarters. We never knew race. We never knew color. May 13 happened. Everybody came out and say, what do you need for your family? What do you need for your family? I'll go buy them. I'll share this with you. I'll share that with you. Now this country has become so separated. We live in separate ghettos. We are like 3 or 4 nations stapled together. Yeah. So we got a lot of work to do.
Okay, we need to move on. But please stay at your rostrums because we go straight into... We go straight into the closing remarks, and we decided earlier that Gopalan will start closing remarks. You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, first of all, let me say thank you. Yeah, thank you to Bersih for giving me this opportunity to stand here before you, and together with my saudara kawan Faisal. I want to thank him also for stepping up and giving his best. Thank once again Stanley, I think, for putting on a fantastic event. So we're really at again an important juncture. Okay, you know, the hoo-ha of 2018, post-2018, the Sheraton move, and then the uncertainties of the coalition government may be slightly behind us. There have been some changes in the cabinet. It appears to be a move in the right direction. I don't know, that remains to be seen. But you will agree with me that the reforms are stalling. Yeah, they're not moving at pace. No matter what the reasons are, you know, we can have a separate conversation about that, but that's not good enough for the people. Yeah, coalition governments fail if they don't deliver on reforms. Yeah, it's not the other way around. Okay, so really, you know, simple things like the Electoral Reform Committee report that contains, you know, 40 to 50 recommendations. Release it. That would be a sign of goodwill that the reform is moving in the right direction. A conversation, a discourse can be had by all of you once you see that on the table, right? It would then sort of like, you know, foster a conversation around, okay, what about this? What about that? Yeah, that would come out of that, those 49 recommendations. The DNAA, again, you know, it's a rollback. Yeah. So then, you know, then you have all the issues, the multiple issues facing this country. Look at what happened to the Perak farmers. Yeah. All right. Here we are, a country that is facing high prices, and a group of farmers growing food in land that, you know, that would then help to increase food and reduce prices are being now kicked off the land. How is that possible? Why is that happening? Why isn't the government sort of like quickly acting and reinforcing the ability of our farmers to stay on the land and keep growing? Yeah, the deforestation that is taking place. Yeah, the oppressive laws. Yeah, so women. I mentioned this a number of times. Yeah. The separation of powers between the you know, the DPP and the Attorney General's chambers, redelineation, the oppressive laws. Yeah, I mean, we still have vestiges of a Cold War state in our legislative you know, system, right? Don't talk about this. This is too sensitive. Yeah, that mindset sometimes is still, you know present and is a blanket over our freedom. We need to be able to express ourselves freely without the threat of state power, and arbitrary state power at that. Yeah, those are simple reforms that we can move on. Yeah, so I hope you know, this has been a good debate for you. And let me say once again, right, the way, you know, Bersih should go forward is everything is on the table. Okay, all the way from, you know, polite conversation, collaboration, to street demonstrations, if we need to, if that's our last resort, if push comes to shove. But then, you know, that requires a rebuilding of our mass base, okay, which has eroded over the years. Okay, that conversation is a difficult one, it's a challenging one, and we need to have that, yeah, because it's critical for the progress and development of Malaysia as a united, free, and prosperous country going forward. Terima kasih.
Okay. Okay. All in all, in our conversation just now, we can see it seems that we are hopeless. We can see disappointment from all CSOs, especially in terms of reform agenda. So that's why I think there is a need to fill the gap, because now we can see the huge vacuum, as I said just now, in CSO. People may be politically fatigued when we talk about how to elevate CSO. That's why I offer myself. Even last weekend, I handed over my position as ABIM President, and I try to be the best if I'm elected as a Bersih Chairperson. I hope I can lead Bersih in the right footing and to regroup all the activists, insyaAllah. Dan saya ucap terima kasih kepada Mr. Gopal. He's my best friend. I met him and we discussed about how can we bring this democratic mechanism forward. InsyaAllah kita mengharapkan lepas ni tidak ada permusuhan. Akhirnya Bersih bergerak ke arah yang lebih baik. Dan saya ucapkan terima kasih. Please give a big hand to Election Commission. Saya fikir penonton-penonton di luar Awani Malaysia kini harus menonton pilihan raya bersih, jadikannya sebagai model untuk politician yang berada di luar. Kalau ada pilihan raya kecil lepas ni, saya tak pasti kat mana pilihan raya kecil ada lagi. Sudah tak ada. Buat satu live public debate seperti mana yang bersih buat. We walk the talk. Terima kasih sekali lagi kepada semua, juga kepada Danny Lim dan juga kepada KLSH dan semua industri NGO. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So, thank you very much. Very different personalities, very different age and approaches, but actually, I feel that there's a I found that they have far more in common than having differences. So I wish both candidates all the best. I wish even the endorsing NGOs all the best. There's a message from the Bersih team that the polling opens tomorrow at 8 a.m. and closes at 5 p.m. The counting process starts after that, and results will be expected on the same night. So all the best. Thank you and selamat malam.